Welcome everyone to the second part of our event today, audio description for live events. It is a great pleasure and an honor to introduce you to my dear friend, colleague, audio description professional, and inspirational speaker, Nefertiti Matos Olivares. Thank you so much, Nefertiti, for being here. I'm going to read the description that is in LinkedIn, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Nefertiti is a blind, chronically ill, bilingual Latina with a deep commitment to making culture accessible to all. As a voice talent specializing in audio description, she combines extensive expertise in assistive technology and cultural accessibility to help ensure that artistic and public spaces are genuinely inclusive. Her work focuses on producing blind-centered, culturally competent audio description and pushing the field forward with intention. In 2023, she made history as the first blind person to perform live audio description at the Oscars, followed by the Emmys in 2024. Her narration spans English and Spanish media across genres and platforms, from the Emmy-winning My Disability Roadmap and the Peabody Award-winning Unseen, to Netflix titles like the comedy Running Point and the action-adventure Back in Action, as well as numerous culturally rooted multimedia experiences that are quietly shifting standards of inclusion. She also brings character to life through voice acting, including Meggie Eggy, the spirited yellow egg timer in season 6 of the America's Test Kitchen Mystery Recipe podcast. She proudly serves as workflow manager for quality and inclusion at Descriptive Video Works, where she advocates for equitable pathways into and within the audio description industry for blind and low vision professionals. This includes conscious cultural casting and helping lead select initiatives that redefine the possibilities for blind and low vision writers. She's also a core member of the Social Audio Description Collective, where she narrates, leads blind quality control of human written audio description scripts, and manages projects in collaboration with institutions like the Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, the Guggenheim Museum, and the Whitney Museum. Beyond that, she co-hosts the Blind Center Audio Description Chat series and ran the Audio Description LinkedIn group, two dynamic spaces for advancing dialogue, innovation, advocacy, and celebration in the field. When she's not working, she likes singing, baking, and telling the kind of dad jokes that elicit eye rolls so deep that she can practically hear them echo. So much fun, your description, Nefertiti. Thank you so much for this impressive description that you provided of yourself.
That bio is way too long. That is, wow, okay.
You deserve that and more, and I think that gives us the context that we needed, right, to start this conversation.
My goodness. Workshop over. That was very long.
So before starting to talk explicitly about how audio description works in live events and what is your role in that, I would like to know how and why you got involved in this, how all this came up.
Oh, that's a good question. People are very curious about that. I'll give you the Cliff Notes, which is basically that I worked at the New York Public Library as an assistive technology instructor. And while I was there and I did a lot of good work, the patrons loved me, I loved what I did. It got to a point where some of you might be able to relate to this, where you feel like I've done the growing I was going to do here. I've given what I have to give. I need to figure something else out, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's just not holding my interest like it once was. And then the pandemic hit, and I was really forced to do a lot of, deep looking at myself and what I had done, what I'd like to do, assuming we were all going to survive it, and I decided through lots of watching of shows that either did not have audio description or the description they did have was pretty awful, that's the truth. I thought, okay, I'm noticing a big disparity here. When there is description, it's not that great. And when there is great description, I'm only hearing one kind of voice. Whether masculine or feminine, it all sounded very homogenous and white to me. And as a woman who is not only blind, but of color also, bilingual, and all sorts of things, I wasn't really hearing anybody like me. And I felt that that needed to change. And I've always been a bit of an artsy person. And so I thought, okay, so maybe not a singer, dancer, actress on Broadway, but maybe behind a mic, right?
Nice.
And I started by attending workshops and things, events that were happening online. I identified a couple of people who luckily accepted me as their mentee. And so I basically networked. It's what it comes down to. I hustled and I networked, and people noticed and they liked what they heard and my work ethic and all of that. And yeah, that led to the Social Audio Description Collective. That led to my boss at Descriptive Video Works noticing me and creating a position for me. And it's led to a whole host of freelance opportunities that I've had with customers like you heard, Lincoln Center, Whitney, all of that. Google is another one that I work with a lot. So yeah, it's honestly, it's
The Poster House.
Poster House Museum, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of names, big names on my roster, but yeah, it's one of these things where I took a leap of faith and I believed in myself, and it was the right belief because it's really worked out for me. You know, that's the truth.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are passionate about that. Are very passionate.
Oh yeah, that helps. It helps to love what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Nefertiti, can you explain to us how is the process and the dynamics of audio describing a live event, such as the Oscars, and your particular role in the process?
Sure. So for something like the Oscars, my specific role is of blind quality control and specifically of narration. So I, along with a sighted writer slash narrator like myself, literally go to California, which is great because I get to travel and stay at a hotel and actually be on the grounds. And spoiler alert, no contact with the big stars. I wish. We're production, that's the truth. But we have our own space, our own sound stuff, our screens where we watch the show, our audio equipment, all the things are provided for us. And we go in there a day or two in advance. We catch, if we're lucky, a dress rehearsal or two. And from there, we get an idea of the shape of the show. But honestly, live audio description in its truest form is cold. Cold meaning no preparation. You go in there and you do it. And, you know, like we were talking a bit about on our way here, María José, and in our private conversations, so much of it is you cannot plan. Anybody remember the Will Smith slapping incident? Who could have planned for that? Zero people planned for that. I don't think he even planned for that, right?
Right,
So,
exactly.
you know, many things that happen that are pretty lovely and some other things that can be kind of shocking, and we're there. We're there for it all, and we are literally giving voice to what's going on. Specific to me, what are called packages in the field. So say, for example, Best Picture, and they show you like the top 5 movies of the year, or Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Supporting, whatever it is. Those clips that you see, those are considered packages, and those we do get in advance, maybe a day or two max. And at that point, we're scrambling and we're trying to do the best we can to create little itty bitty scripts for those. And when I say itty bitty, it's because there's no talking over dialogue, right? That's one of the cardinal rules in audio description. No over dialogue. So imagine these little clips. At max, we might get maybe 5 seconds here, 3 seconds there. 7 seconds is a huge gap for us in this space. And we're there trying to create audio description that is meaningful, right?
Right.
Not just a man jumps off a cliff, although sometimes that's all the space we have, you know? And so that is something that we try to create audio description for ahead of time. But most of it is, like I just said, cold. We go in there, we watch a rehearsal or two, if that, sometimes it's just one, and we're on air. We're live and we go. And yeah, it's
Wow,
exhilarating.
Right. So apart from the trailers that maybe you get some possibility of doing it in advance, like for example, the dress, you don't know the dresses.
That's
which
right.
is such a fashion
right.
is such an important component of the Oscars. So how does it work? You are in a team, and the sighted person describes that and writes them?
Sort of, sort of. So, right, we have to know fashion, right? A V-neck, pleated skirt, long chiffon gown, coral versus red versus, so there are things that we can research ahead of time that we can learn the parlance of, the language of, right? We know that a lot of these shows, for example, again, we're talking specific to the Oscars, the Emmys, that kind of space, is very heavy on fashion. So you're right about that. It's also really important, the recognition, right? All these stars have gotten to that level and they're recognizable, sometimes all over the world, right? So we will research sometimes what pronouns they may use, or what heritage they define themselves as, what skin tone they talk about themselves having. And so there is some level of research that we can do ahead of time if we know that, for example, Mel Gibson is up for an award, or Tom Cruise, or I don't know, Charlize Theron, or whoever it is. So that we can go armed with that knowledge. That's part of being a describer, whether you're doing it live or for films or for whatever it is. You have to know what you're describing. But yeah, for the most part, it is the sighted describer. For the Oscars, it's a woman named Erin Morosky and I. She works for Descriptive Video Works too. I should have led with that. I do this work through my job at Descriptive Video Works. They are a North American, well, Canadian specifically, but they are one of the, if not the leading audio description provider in North America. And we've made quite a name for ourselves in the video game space and in live description, as well as doing a bunch of, more traditional description with big names like Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, you name it, we do it. So yeah, Erin is part of our team, and she and I, this was our third year doing the Oscars. It's amazing. We've been asked back, which is always a good sign, right, of doing something right. And yeah, we work together. We, if she has a chance to write something or I have a chance to write something, we run it by each other. We cross-check facts with each other. Sometimes we're changing things on the spot because the show changes on the spot.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that, as audience members, you have no idea. It just looks kind of smooth or whatever to you. And it was like, oh, wow, they made 3 changes just in that last segment. Wow. And we have to be on top of that. We have to be ready for anything, honestly. Sometimes they slip things in there that weren't even planned. So that's always interesting.
It is.
But yeah, that's how we do it. We work completely collaboratively. Things that I literally can't see, she can. She'll write it down if there's chance for that. I can jump off of that, or or not. Sometimes I've saved her. It's a whole team effort for us.
But I was wondering, for example, if you disagree with something that she wrote, or with a specific lexical choice of a noun, an adjective, do you have time? Because you're live. Do you have time to change the scripts and narrate it?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes. Rarely has that happened. If we're talking packages, we go in armed as much as we can with the description set. So that's something like, let's say she writes a line of description, and I'm like, I don't know. I'll choose something kind of silly, like, is it really azure blue or more royal blue? She'll be like, oh, yeah, royal. Okay, change azure to royal. Things like that. Or are they jumping? Or is it more of a hop? Is it more of a leap? Is it more of a, so getting into that sort of, it sounds nitpicky, but it's important. It's factual information that we're trying to provide, right? If you're someone like me and like Descriptive Video Works and the collective I'm a part of and all that, we believe in access as not just a human right, which it as at its most basic it is, but it's access to information. So we don't want that information to be inaccurate.
Right.
Right. So we're the specificity, where somebody might think of it as nitpicky. No, that's specificity, and it's specificity with meaning, with intention. It's important, So yeah, the short answer is no, we rarely have time to change on the fly, but when we do, we try to be as specific as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if nothing is changed, she passes you the description and you narrate it?
Sort of. Again, this is all stuff that either we prepare ahead of time, we're writing it together, and then on the night of, well, in the case of California, it's during the day, but here on the night of, on the East Coast, yeah, we go live. We do it. She's very good at describing let's say the performances when artists are singing, dancing, that kind of thing. And I'm taking care of things like I said, the packages, the in memoriam, commercial intros and outros, things of that sort. And yeah.
The packages are kind of prepared in advance, sort of.
Yes, the packages, again, when we have time, yes, we write that description as early, as much as we can of it. Yes.
Okay.
And the Oscars, specifically the Emmys as well, they've been very good about, if we say, hey, we need the packages ahead of time, it sometimes could be a day that we have. But they have been very good about understanding that that is an accommodation, that is a reasonable request. We are under mountains of NDA that we can't snap pictures, we can't tweet about it, we can't, write on Facebook, social media, none of that. And we've developed trust as a company and as just the workers doing this work, the writer, the narrator doing this work, and they trust us with that content. It's uploaded to a very secure server type of situation, and from there we do whatever crafting we can ahead of time, and we go in with those scripts ahead of time. But like I say, for the most part, it's cold.
It's cold.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Emmys, and my next question was about what is the main difference between the Oscars, audio describing for the Oscar and audio describing for the Emmys?
You want me to answer that honestly?
Yes, of course.
The main difference is how much more restrictive the Oscars are. It takes about 6, 7, no exaggeration, security points to get into the space that we need to be into. Whereas with the Emmys last year, I was in line with the cast of Shogun. I was in the bathroom with a couple of actresses who I won't name drop, but pretty big names. I was in the elevator with folks from Queers Folk, or what is it called? Queer Eye? Queer Eye, yeah, a couple of them were on the elevator with me. I was in a hotel with a very big name actress, which honestly made me think, like, what kind of hotel am I in if she's here? It made me feel a little like, wow, look at me. But
you're a celebrity.
kind of. In the blind, I'm blind famous. How about that?
You're a blind celebrity.
Blind famous.
Totally.
So yeah, that's the biggest difference. The security with the Oscars is super intense. Emmys, not so much, but for the most part, our setup is the same, from the mics they use to the little gadgets. I'm not sure of the name, maybe our audio person back there can say, but we have a way that we communicate with the audio engineers, with production, and also, of course, our setup. There's a button to go live and a button to take us off live. There's a button to fix our volume in our headphones. We have screens in front of us at all times. Screens that are focused on the red carpet, and then screens that are focused on the main show. It's a whole setup, and so far, it's been basically the same. No matter the award show, it's basically been the same.
So in both events, you have those packages that kind of are prepared in advance, and then you can do some research in advance as well. That is going to help you. And then again, in the Emmys, you are going with someone in a team with a sighted person?
Yep, it's always a team of 2.
Okay.
One-sided, and in the case of me, blind. Yeah, I'm basically the person who's doing this work, y'all. That's the truth. Wow. There's another blind describer who you can hear doing the SAG Awards as an example, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, because they have very specific rules that they want to follow. Understandably, they want their people, screen actors, part of the guild, to do their events. So that makes perfect sense. But these other events, it's been me. I'm really the only one doing this work. So.
And it's kind of groundbreaking in that sense, right? Like nothing about us.
Nothing about us without us.
Exactly. So you were the first person to say, listen, if we are going to provide this service specifically for blind people, blind person has to be in the team, right?
100%. That is at the root of my ethos of everything I do in this area. And any other thing that I've done. When I was an assistive technology instructor, same kind of, lead-in. But that's specific, it's assistive technology. So that is made for blind, low vision, disabled people, or has access assets built in. For example, the iPhone, the screen reader has voiceover. On Windows, we have screen reader called JAWS or NVDA, etc. Those are products that are specific to or have accessibility assets built in to their, to their products, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So in that sense, I was working with the community within the community. This is working for the community on behalf of the community as a blind person doing this work. Now, there are other blind people in this space. I don't want to make it seem like I'm the only one. In the live arena, basically the only one. But when it comes to doing things like films and TV shows and museum exhibits, my collective alone, we have other blind folks who are doing blind quality control or script editing, narration, things like that. So yeah, we very much believe in nothing about us without us. Blind people need to be in audio description. Blind people only elevate, professional blind people. I do want to say that. You can't just be, blind schmo, I'm walking off the street, here I am, no. We want some training, we want some experience, that's important. But blindness as a prerequisite, super important to be in a space that is for and by blind people, absolutely.
Have you seen a change in attitudes? Because at the beginning, I would say it was very difficult, right, to raise awareness of the importance of participation and representation of blind people in these processes.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it was hard, right?
Yeah, earlier.
Have you seen a change, a more kind of a change of an attitude towards more inclusivity in that aspect?
Yes and no. Earlier, I said that when I got into this, when I transitioned careers, I did a lot of hustling, right? That's sort of a funky term to let you know that I worked really, really hard. I really had to prove myself, and yeah, it's been tough. But I also talked about mentors that I identified early on in my transition. That was hugely important for me, specific to the blind mentors I identified. One specific person, Thomas Reed, who you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is this
great.
brilliant man who, hey, maybe you'll introduce them to him or something sometime.
The students had to listen to a podcast.
Yes.
About audio description in dancing. Remember that? It was Thomas Reed, the person who was interviewing Ali Shepard,
amazing.
One of the dancers and in the Kinetic Light company.
Yes. Oh, those are
so
two.
they know Thomas Reed.
Two very big names in the disability space, Thomas Reed and Alice Shepard, for different reasons, but fundamentally the same thing, representing and advocating for people with disabilities. But yes, Thomas Reed has been my mentor from the start. He was the first person who, believed that I could do this. And yeah, we've been friends and colleagues. We're in the collective together. We've worked on independent projects together. He's an all-around amazing person. And I'd like to think he feels the same about me. So it's nice to have people who were already in this space, who already sort of broke a couple of barriers before me, leading the way. And then I also have had a chance to break a number of barriers and trail, or blaze a trail, if you will, too. So yeah, hard, but also clearly not impossible, right? Because there are people who do, who do have open minds. My boss at Descriptive Video Works, Reese Lloyd, perfect example. Open-minded persons who know that they don't know everything. So who better to know, who better to align themselves with than people passionate about this work, who know what they're doing, who show up, who are, forward thinking, all of it.
Yes.
And yeah, we are literally the change we want to see. Who was it? Was it who said that? Eleanor Roosevelt, I believe it was. Be the change you want to see. Well, we can't see, but we're still making that change. Okay.
Well said.
Yeah. It's super important.
Yes. My last question before giving the floor to the students and our guests to make some questions is the role of artificial intelligence AI.
Ooh.
What is the role of AI now in
Ooh.
audio description for live events? If AI is being used in audio description for live events or not? Not yet.
Well, that's a controversial subject. I think anywhere where you talk AI, there's controversy. In audio description, though, in live events, as of yet, as far as I'm aware, no. Because AI just isn't there. It isn't there. It can't pick up on something and immediately say it to you. There are, not to scare anybody, but there are technologies out there, Google being one, and there are a few others that are trying, and to some extent succeeding at having description spewed at you, if you will, as you're navigating the world. There are smart glasses, Meta smart glasses, another smart glasses that are coming out called Echo Vision, which harnesses the power of AI to describe the world around as instantaneously as possible. But imagine that. It's an artificial voice, first of all, and very clearly artificial. And yeah, I think that in a live space, an award show like that, people want that human touch. It's
Right.
frankly, in the community, part of the controversy is that we want most of us, okay, there are some people, I got to give them their space. There are some people who say, if it means description, I don't care where it comes from, I'll take it. Whether it's text to speech voice or an artificial voice, it doesn't matter, I want it. And then there are most of us, though, who say we want a human in the loop,
Right.
right? And ideally, it would be a blind-centered human in the loop type of structure. So
Right.
for that, in the live space, no, we're not there yet.
Okay, and
not
do you
there yet.
envision in the future, in the near future, the role of AI being bigger or desirable?
In the near future, I'm not so sure, but the future,
Yeah,
yes.
in the future, yes.
I do. I myself use apps like Seeing AI, Be My Eyes, even ChatGPT. You can upload a photo and have it analyze it for you. It sometimes hallucinates things that aren't there, or it'll identify someone, as an older white man when it's a young brown girl. So, big, big mistakes, but the excuse me. Excuse me. The capability is there, and it is only going to get better. By the looks of things, it's going to get better. So we'll see as it does.
Yeah.
I just know
for
that
live
it's
events,
not there
I
yet.
think for live events, I think it's far away from.
I think so too. And again, I'm talking these apps that I mentioned, these apps, are for images, still captures of
Exactly.
things. It isn't live motion, although again, they are working on that.
Yes.
So, but we're not there yet. So I still have a job.
Okay, great. So I would like to give the opportunity to our audience to make questions. If not, I have more questions, but I wanted to ask if someone here wants to make a comment, question for Nefertiti about audio description in live events or about audio description in other fields. Ivan? Was it captured?
In the language?
Yeah, like how would you say, is it like a different process or is it like kind of like the same for both?
I think fundamentally it's the same for both, right? In audio description, if we're talking about a film, say, there are your main roles, right? A project manager, a writer, ideally a blind person spot checking that writer, going over the script, blind quality control, a narrator, a sound mixer or engineer, and then again, the PM that brings it all together, the project manager who I mentioned at the top. And it goes through these different roles, and ideally, you come out with a pretty stellar product, right? The audio description is written well, it's narrated with the perfect voice to the talent or to the content, excuse me. It's mixed well where nothing is too ducked, lower, or nothing is too overpowering, etc. And you have a great result. As far as the language itself, if you're asking, because okay, here we go. Like you have You have American English, you have British English, you have Australian English, you have Latinoamericano Español, you have Español de España, Español colombiano, ecuatoriano, mexicano, you know. So if we're talking dialects, that's something more specific. But if you're asking about the roles and the process of description, I'd like to think, and in my experience, it's all basically the same.
Any other question? Yani?
Well, I wanted to know because at first when you're first exposed to audio description, one of the first things you find out is that you're not meant to speak over dialogue. But do you feel like there are other cardinal rules that don't get spoken about enough?
Oh, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. It's mandate. Yeah, it's a, we have rules. We have rules. It's not a Wild West out here. Although, since part of my, you know, I'm one of the people who, I think I may have even started it. The hashtag describe everything. We want everything described, right? So you're not going to describe a film the way you do a museum exhibit, the way you will, you know, the project you're doing with Repertorio Español, with live theater. They're different genres. They require different approaches, if you will. Even though the creation process may fundamentally be the same, the actual execution of it will differ depending on what you're doing. And yes, there are rules. There are best practices. Not going over dialogue is one of the cardinal ones. And then it just, honestly, it depends on what you're describing and the approach. But I would say another one is to write to your audience. So if you're describing, let's say, Hamlet versus a child's program, you know, children's programming or what have you, you're not going to write it the same. The description isn't the same. Your audience isn't the same. So that's another one of those cardinal rules. Write to your audience. Don't distract the audience away from the content. A good example that goes around the community in this is for Game of Thrones, the writer wrote the word, well, it had several words, but one of the words that stood out the most in the community was vertiginous. Does anybody here know what that is? Right off the bat, anybody? Vertiginous. No? There's a good reason. It's not something that we use every day. So, you know, it's not like write your script in an infantilizing way. Don't condescend to people, their intelligence, but also don't use words that are going to be like, wait, what? Vertiginous? And by the time you sort of come back into the content, you're already a line or two of description behind, right? So don't distract away from the content. And that goes for how you write it, the narrator that you use, the mix that you do. Huge, huge rule in description. No distracting away from the content or the, you know, what you're doing. So yeah, those are just three. There are others.
Okay, thank you. Anne, you had a question?
Well, I have two. I was wondering, as far as the live audio description, and you said you do it cold. How do you know, like, where you have a space to say it and, like, when the next person is going to say something?
That's a great question. You don't. It's live. I think we've interrupted each other right, you know, in this space right here. You don't. But when you hear somebody speak, you shut right up. That's what you do. And listen, the blind audience viewing us, they're very understanding. I got to say that about our audience. They know that our work is really hard. They really appreciate that it's being done at all. And I think that for the most part, yes, you have critics. That's everywhere, right? You know, you're going to have people, this, you didn't describe enough, or you described too much, or what have you. That is to be expected. You know, part of what we do is performance. And as performers, you have to have a bit of a thick skin. You know, you can learn from what the audience is critiquing you about or complimenting you on and incorporate that moving forward, but also not take it too much to heart. Because for the most part, people they want us to succeed. They want us to do well, because by us doing our jobs well, they get more access. And so sometimes if we do speak over, I don't know, Zendaya, it's okay. She starts speaking and I'm quiet. And if I can get it in, then great. Or if Aaron can get it in, great. And if not, we move on to the next thing, right? Because it is live and it is very fast. And so sometimes, yeah, we have to sort of hold our words. Yeah.
And I have a question when your Eddie, your partner in the
Oh, Aaron.
Erin,
Aaron.
she's writing something, then you receive it instantly at the same time that she's writing.
When she's writing?
She's writing, and you can with your screen reader listening to what she's writing.
Well, if we're talking about the packages, as I've noted before, those things that we write ahead of time,
Okay.
then no. I go in with my computer. She also has a computer,
Right.
you know, and I have my script either as an Excel or a Google Sheet or a Word document, you know, but it's there. It's for me. And it also depends. Am I using my screen reader and a headphone, or am I using my Braille display?
Right.
You know, I have agency over what I use, and I'm very intentional as to I use Braille display for this, this, and this. I use hard copy Braille for this, this, and this. I use my screen reader as a teleprompter for this, this, and this. I know myself well enough to know I'm going to perform my best in this setting using this technology or this more sort of, you know, regular whatever it is, whether it's hard copy Braille or digital Braille.
So for the packages, you choose your method, right? For the
Yes,
packages. And
absolutely.
For the other things that are not packages?
Those are things that either Erin takes care of because she's the one who can see and say.
Oh,
Or-
so she takes part of the narration as well. She takes
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes, yes. Erin and I are both writers and narrators.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I
We're like I say, we're like this. We're entangled. Here's a little image description. I'm interlacing my fingers.
Totally. So it requires a lot
There.
of compenetración between the two of you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, we are like this.
Wow.
From the moment we're in our little trailer, we are connected and we're working on
But
all the
you would
things.
say that you do more of the packages and she takes care of more things that are not packaged.
Yeah, she'll do, like I say, she'll do the performances. I do more of the clips, the packages, the in memoriam, the coming in, which is an intro, the outros, things of that sort.
Great. Okay, I understand that.
Yeah.
Thank you. More questions, comments? Nereida.
Do you have a dream event that you would like to audio describe?
Not an event, but I have been sort of joking, not joking, that I want an EGOT. EGOT, which is Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, Tonys. So far I've described the Oscars and the Emmys. If I can do the Tonys and the Grammys, I will have that EGOT in audio description.
There you
So,
go.
yeah.
Creativity.
That
more
is
language.
that is a goal of mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any other comment, question? Yeah. Okay.
So, what do you, I know we mentioned the AI, but what do you think about the job outlook? And is this something that we can do full-time or freelance or part-time?
You have great questions, Anne. Yes, all of you do. So that really depends. At Descriptive Video Works specifically, we have a handful of writers on staff full-time, but our hundreds of writers are freelancers. Yeah, so very much more a freelance market, and honestly, not even part-time work for a lot of freelancers. We definitely encourage, personally, I would encourage anybody interested in getting in the field to have something else. Keep to your artistic pursuits or whatever else you do, but be, you know, the realistic view of this work is that it is freelance and you're not always going to have, you know, this month I had 3 projects, well next month you may have 0. This week you may have 2, and it might go 6 weeks before you're you know you hear from a company like DVW or some other thing, or a Broadway play, or whatever your passions are, whether that's a museum or whatever it is. So keep that in mind. And if you do happen to land a job like a full-time writer position, then amazing. They do exist. But usually people who are at that level are experts at what they do, and they tend not to leave those jobs. So they're really hard to get, and they're pretty scarce. That's the truth. So yeah, it's a freelance economy, it's a gig economy, and definitely encourage folks to have something else going for them.
But at the same time, since streaming platforms need and require audio description in so many languages, right? There are more opportunities and there is a growing demand for audio description experts, right?
I'd like to think so, absolutely. There's definitely a growing demand, but there's also this idea that AI will make it cheaper. Text-to-speech will make it cheaper, right? So, yeah, whereas, you know, before AI, let's put it that way, for audio description to be created by a skilled writer, you required a human skilled writer. Now, if it's cheaper, some of these companies are like, okay, let's go with the cheaper option. And, you know, even writing sometimes is done by AI. The voicing is done by AI, and it's a reality, and it's a real disservice to the community that audio description is said to serve, right, is supposed to serve, that we get this less than product, even though everything about the movie is human, right, from the director to the actor and the crew and all of it, but somehow we end up with the less, you know, access because it's cheaper. So that is a reality. And it is, how can I say, a lot of people in the field are concerned that the artistry that they put into their work is being compromised and frankly done away with by these cheaper options. And they wouldn't be wrong. They wouldn't be wrong. But, you know, Amazon as being one of the companies best known for in the field for doing this,
Yeah.
you know, where they want more quantity over quality, it's problematic.
Right. I have to say that when I have listened to movies with audio description in Amazon, I turn the description off.
And why is that?
Because of the voice.
Uh-huh.
And when I watch Netflix, I love it. I love it.
And
the
why is that?
description, Because of the companies that they, and
Yeah,
the voice.
and it's human.
It's human. It's
Yes.
human. You can tell. You can tell it's human.
You can absolutely
From
tell
the
the
lexical
difference.
choices in the script to the quality of the voice, the intonation of the switch, depending on the moment of the movie, it's a whole
Yes.
difference.
It's a different experience.
And I wonder if these companies ask the consumers, the blind consumers or the consumers of the description about their opinion. on the
Oh
feedback.
yes, there's a bunch of a number of of social media spaces specific to audio description. For anyone on LinkedIn, I run the LinkedIn group on audio description. There's the Facebook audio description discussion group, the NDNA group also. All these spaces exist specifically for audio description, and they are full of blind, low vision people, people of color, etc., represented in these groups. And every so often, yeah, you'll hear calls for like, hey, we're putting a focus group together. Heck, DBW did that just this week. We're forming a focus group for people because we do the live audio description for Saturday Night Live.
That's
Yeah,
cool. That's so cool.
It's so cool. In all its 50 seasons, we're the first company to ever do it. And we did it for the 49th season as a sort of proof of concept. And the community liked it so much. And the network realized the value add that there was to that they've asked us back for now their 50th season. And it's going great. We know it's going great, but we want to hear from the consumer, right?
Exactly.
We're a company that's consumer first. And so we are putting together a focus group of blind people who are out there just enjoying the description or not, and we want to know about it so that we can make it better. You know, and NBC is behind that. You know, we're coming up, we're doing the Pope funeral coming up this Saturday. DVW is doing that description through CBS. You know, we do all sorts of these events that are of importance to people. You know, they're part of the common experience of human connection. You know, leaving blind people out is discrimination. It's a disservice. And companies like DVW are bridging that gap. you know, and
It's
we,
impressive what they're doing.
yeah, we are, it's a great company. And not just because I work there. I'd be a huge fan if I were just a consumer. I would be a huge fan of DVW.
Absolutely. Is there any other question to wrap it up our talk or comment? No? Okay, so thank you so much, Nefertiti. Please.
Thank you guys. So happy to be here.
It's a delight to have you with us,
Thank you.
and thank you so much.